Just leave it. We'll just leave the picture there.
Okay. That's right. All right.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Over the door. Clear off.
You don't work here, remember?
Hey, Cheryl, wondering why. I know what I'm doing. Is because she gave me a menorah, but it had a motorcycle underneath it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did I start recording?
Yeah, you can start recording. And my condolences to everybody. I think I know almost everybody here.
This is Uncle Jeff.
This is Jack, okay. I just saw the phone last night since I'm
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm technologically stupid.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay. And this is your son.
This is my son, Parker.
Right,
This
okay.
is her son, Jason, my brother.
Jason.
That's Leonard.
Those are the faces I recognize.
That's my daughter, Allison.
Hi,
That's
Allison.
my husband, Scott.
Right, there we go. And that's the May family.
David and Emmy is there. And then we have Deborah, and then we have Keaton.
Okay. So, first of all, again, my deepest condolences to all of you. Dora was a wonderful woman, and she was beloved by many in the synagogue. And I really gained a great deal of comfort and strength and inspiration listening to all of you talk last night about her with so much love. I know that you all carry in her heart. She'll always be with you. And we're going to begin by Kriya, which is the traditional tearing that represents the tear that we feel in our heart, the pain that we feel over someone passing. So I'm going to ask for everyone to rise. And the ribbon is traditionally torn by first-degree mourners, so children, spouses, parents, siblings. So it would be the two of you, June if she was here, but she's not with us. She's on the stream, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So as you put this on, it goes on the left side so that it's over the heart. And you're on the left. And we're going to recite a God. We're going to recite a blessing together. I'll ask you to repeat after me. Baruch. Atah. Adonai. Eloheinu. Melech. Ha'olam. Dayan. Ha'emet. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, the judge of truth. And we can be seated. As we begin our service this afternoon, I'm going to call in to two of my clergy colleagues to participate in the service. They wanted very much to be here also for Dora. They also knew her well. And we only send one clergy at a time to life cycle events because of COVID. It's everything that's different. But this is a way for them to be with us and to participate. So with your permission, wrong one. Let me start by calling Aaron first.
Steve?
Hi, Cantor. Would you begin our service for Dora with chanting of Psalms?
Sure. You're up there already? My screen is still.
I'm here. Your screen is still?
Yeah.
Oh, they haven't started the stream yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, now
You
I
started
see
your
you.
Facebook stream? Okay.
Yeah, I see you right now.
Okay, all right.
All right, so you want me to get started?
Sure, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. Mizmor LeDavid Adonai roi lechsar Inadesh yevitzeni Al mei menuchot yenahaleini Nashi eshovem Yancheni v'maglei tzedek Leman shemot גם כי אלך בגיא של מוות, לא ירא רק אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. בשבילך נגד צורריי, ישנת ושמר ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Thank you, Cantor. And now, hi, can you lead us in a psalm in English? I'm going to call now upon Rabbi Hal Rudin-Luria to lead us also in English in Psalms.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God maketh me to lie down in green pastures. God leadeth me beside still waters. God restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth.
The Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. That verse from our Bible sums up much of what we're feeling today. Though our hearts are heavy with grief over Dora's passing, though it's hard to imagine life without her here, and though each of you feel the void left and yearn to feel that void with her love, in the midst of our grief, we can only express deep gratitude to God for the gift of Dora's life, for the way in which she was a beacon of light, of God's light, that shined her love on everyone that she touched, that so deeply influenced each of your lives and the lives of all who knew her. And so we come together to mourn, but also to celebrate. And there is much in Dora's life to celebrate. I'm going to call first on Danielle, who's going to share some reflections. Danielle?
Thank you, Rabbi Weiss. Should I put this down? I'm the tall one. Okay. Thank you all for joining us today. I also want to take a moment to thank all the medical essential workers that gave my mom such extraordinary care. Yes, this is my first Jewish funeral, and I knew that it would be because of my mother. For those of you who are curious, it is not traditional to have flowers, just so you know. A lot of people have been asking me, so you're right on that one. Here's a story of my mom. My mom was a selfless, giving, passionate, and loving person. Her gift was to serve and to take care of others. Her life was challenging right from the start when her mom died of cancer at age 9. She had to leave school at age 8 for 1 year to be her mom's caretaker. Can you imagine her strength, so young, in life. Instantly, her childhood was stolen away. She helped to raise a brother and a sister, my Aunt June and Uncle Jack. At 18 years old, her dad got cancer. She loved her dad more than anybody in the world. She was Daddy's girl, and she told me how often that he was her best friend. My mom will do anything for anyone, like when her dad wanted to die at home. You bet she sure brought him home to die. Now she was a daughter to no one at just 18 years old, with 2 younger siblings. Still, my mom let nothing stop her. My mom was a scholar, salutatorian, she played the violin, and she was a scholar of life. She married in 1966 and created Jason, Jeffrey, and myself. She stayed home, raised us, and then later divorced in 1975. Unfortunately, she always felt like an outcast being a divorced single mom. We were her greatest love, of course. Jason was her favorite because she knew him the longest. Jeffrey was her favorite because he was the sensitive, good-looking one. And I was the baby and the girl. So, I was the most favorite, I'm just saying. My mom did whatever it took to keep a roof over our head, clothes on our back, and food in our belly, because childhood support was really a non-existent thing for her. She worked many jobs, third-shift factory jobs, waitress jobs, catering at banquet halls and hotels. She worked every single holiday, all of them, Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Hanukkah, Rosh Hashanah, you name it, she worked it. She missed our baseball and softball games, school programs, and so many things in our lives. And she survived it all, and she never gave up, and she never quit. Life was hard. From the street, we looked like everybody else in suburbia. On the inside, we had nothing. No furniture, no carpeting, no heat most days. We used our gas stove to heat our home. We ate leftovers from the restaurants that she worked at. We sat on cement floors with a TV on the floor and ate with a tray in our laps. But somehow, some way, my mom, Dora, fought through it all, working tirelessly 20 hours a day, 3 or 4 jobs for many, many years. To us, she was a really big deal. At very young ages, we got paper routes to help our mom support us. Soon, we had 5 routes with over 300 customers. She woke us up every day at 3:30 in the morning, and she helped us deliver those papers. Then we went off to school. After school, we had extracurricular activities. Some of us went to our second jobs. We did our homework, and then we woke up, and we did it all over again. Our money helped to put food on the table and clothes on our back for school. My brother was the chef. He fried bologna. That was his forte. We had so much bologna in our lifetime that Jeffrey vowed as an adult to promise to never eat bologna ever again. However, as poor as we were, my mom still taught us to give back. We volunteered at the metro parks, and we did walks for the March of Dimes and donated to them each year. My mom was our biggest cheerleader, and if she knew you, she was your biggest cheerleader in life. She pushed us to get smart and to try everything in life, never say no to any opportunity. She knows everybody, everywhere she goes. She's kind of a big deal. True story, when I went and got these photos for her at Walgreens, it wasn't cooperating. Technical difficulties. I kept trying and trying to print them. And I finally said to the helper at Walgreens, I'm really sorry, but this is for a funeral. I'm exhausted, and these pictures have to come out right now. And she said, okay, it's okay. We found another way to do it. Sure enough, we got the pictures made. So then she said, as we checked out, may I ask you a question? I said, sure. She said, you mentioned a funeral. Was the woman in this picture the one who passed away? And I said, she'll be passing away on Monday, tomorrow. And she said, I knew her. She was always in here. She was so full of life. She was the nicest person I ever met. So, we got your signs, Mom. It's all about Walgreens everywhere we go this week. And it was very kind words, and I mean it when I say everywhere we went. She introduced us like king and queens to everyone that she knew. Despite our challenges, my mom still managed to make her famous Halloween cookies each year for our Longfellow Elementary School bake sale. She was pretty famous for that. She strawberry picked, made homemade jam every summer, and homemade Easter candy too. We all love Star Wars. She used to let us fill up the station wagon with all the neighborhood kids, and some of us would even hide in the crack with the sleeping bag over our heads so we wouldn't have to pay for admission. But we saw Star Wars at the East Lake Drive-In really about 12 times, I think. She made us really cool Halloween costumes, from clowns and bunnies to robots and Raggedy Ann to Darth Vader and stormtroopers and Princess Leia. Our birthday parties were special too, going to the zoo, taking friends to Jog Lake, bowling, magicians, you name it. She once stood in line, believe it or not, and slept out overnight at the Coliseum just to try to get me some Bon Jovi concert tickets. They sold out, but I'm sure it's because John Bon Jovi didn't know that she was in line. Because again, she's a big deal. He probably would have given her front row. She instilled a great work ethic in us, taught us everything is possible, and there was nowhere else to go but upwards in life. She loved books. She loved learning. We were cleaning her house out yesterday, and I can't tell you the amount of books that we have to donate. She always said knowledge is power, and knowledge is the one thing that nobody can ever take away from you. With scholarship grants and loans, we were all fortunate enough to attend college. And yes, even my mom went back to college. Her and I went to college one street away from each other. Finally, in the middle of her life, she found her calling, and it still included serving and taking care of others. This is where her life blossomed into the most beautiful chapters of her life. She became a nanny. She adored children. I thank goodness that she was so blessed to nanny for Gary and Harriet Mann, raising Michael and Andrew. And guess what? That was when she was officially a big deal. The Manns are lifelong friends of my mom and to us. They attend the same congregation, the JCC, and each year they celebrate the Jewish holidays together. And he said that she filled the room with birthday without our mom singing that beautiful happy birthday song. Even if it was 6 a.m., but she had to be the one to be the first one to start our day. And again, she had the most beautiful voice. I thank God we have it on video, because now every year we can continue to hear her sing our happy birthdays. In 2001, she got to be the mother of the bride. She just shined as she walked down that aisle with my brother Jeffrey escorting her. She was a proud mom. So proud that one year she found a perfume that was called Danielle. So, of course, my mom, if y'all know her, she kind of likes to give you your favorite things once you tell her what that is for the rest of your entire life. So, she called every store in the entire city of Cleveland. Swear, true story. She had each bottle of perfume professionally gift wrapped and literally gave me about 15 bottles of the Danielle perfume. Earlier this year, she asked what I did with them, and I told her, well, Mom, it took about 10 years. Even if it was expired, I just kept wearing it. And she laughed. Oh, she laughed. She had such an infectious laugh. I loved making her laugh and hearing her laugh. I think I was the only one allowed to make fun of her, but I've never seen her laugh harder, and she loved every minute of it. In 2002, her son Jeffrey committed suicide. I have no idea how she survived this, how much sadness she had to carry these last 18 years without him. And she still kept fighting, moving forward. She never gave up, and yes, she was a big deal. She got to work in places like Alaska and South Carolina and Chicago and Cincinnati. She ended her wonderful career working for the May family. Emily is nicknamed Emmy. She's with us today, and my mom completely adored this family, and especially Emmy, and vice versa. They were together side by side for 11 years. My mom's love for Emmy was so deep that yesterday, cleaning out her house, we found the story of Emmy's life in shoeboxes. She used an old camera like in the good old days, and she had negatives in every Walgreens envelope. And Emmy, I'm so glad that she was there to record the story of your life together. She was like a daughter to her. I'm sorry for the May family, but especially for Emmy. I mean, my mom just disappeared mid-December, and my heart breaks just knowing Emily will never, ever see my mom again. There was Natalie, too. She just got engaged to Tom, and oh boy, if my mom was never so excited in her whole life, you would have thought it was my wedding all over again. She immediately said, I'm going to stop eating, go on a diet, and we started looking for dresses. No lie, that's what she did. She was great at stopping eating so she could feel beautiful. She had big plans for that day. And all the phone calls, I'm not going to lie, when my mom calls, she's a little Jewish mom, so she talks at you. It's not quite the conversation of a back and forth. Even if she asks questions, she talks so fast. She asks questions. She doesn't really care for the answer because she just keeps going. And then when the voicemail would cut her off, she would say, boy, those voicemails really don't give you a long time to talk, do they? And she would call you back and continue her message. Now, if you were her child, you would get 2 additional calls later that day, just so she could be sure that you got the messages because they cut off in between. My most favorite calls from my mother was just a love call. She would call us and just leave a message to say, I love you. This is a love call. And that's all she would say. She would say, hi, Parker. Hi, Scott. Hi, Danielle. Hi to the dogs. And she said, I'm just calling to say I love you. If it were me, I'd start making those calls, make a love call to someone today, because you never know what's going to happen. And Katie, she was her volleyball star. She constantly bragged about you and that you're now at Mount Union. She loved all of you girls so, so much. My mom was still in college, too, to this day. Yep, it's a true story. She takes 1 class every semester for the past few years. She was certainly a scholar of life. At 75 years of age, which she never let us tell, sorry, Mom, she had 1 side business, a full-time job, was attending college, and was blessed to have 3 children, 4 grandchildren, 2 nieces and nephews, 3 great-nephews, 6 great-nieces, and 11 great-great-nieces and nephews. Imagine that, 5 generations. I know that just makes her smile. Even with her life and the struggles, she gave selflessly to everyone in her life. She was the example of success and what it means to never give up. The last 10 years were her best years of her life. For her 70th birthday, we treated her to Disney World, and on her 70th birthday, we truly surprised her, which is hard to do. She likes to be in charge of things, I'm just saying. But this past October, when she came in, we all got to yell surprise. I mean, was there. And she just, I can't even tell you how she lit up. She's taken us to the best places, the Science Center, Zoo, the Natural History Museum. She took my kids to see their very first Cavs game. And we all got on the Jumbotron. I think that was her first time. She's a big deal. I mean, they knew we were there. I'm just saying. And LeBron, you still owe Allison that autographed jersey. We're waiting. I'm just saying. She took my kid to their first Cleveland Indians games. We've kayaked, seen the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We've eaten at the best restaurants because she knows everywhere. Everywhere she goes, she knows everybody. Air show, fishing, the beach. She brings us Corky and Lenny's every single time she visits. Now we make her show us the food as an entrance fee. No corned beef, no entry, mamacita. And her fridge is always packed with corned beef when we arrive at her house. This was my first time home, looking into an empty fridge. This year, 2020, she introduced us to golf, and it's our favorite now. It's our very first family activity that we all very much love. We spent hours boating on the lake together, and now our new favorite is stargazing at the dark park. She lived every single day to the fullest, and her motto was attitude of gratitude. I know you all can't understand her need to be private, but she loved her life, and if you had so much heartbreak and loss, wouldn't you just love those in your tiny bubble? Her bubble was us, her brother Jack, her sister June, and Leonard, the love of her life, and her very best friend. She could never ever really believe how much other people really, really loved her, and I don't know why. But she was just kept giving to others, not expecting any love back. So we made sure we smothered her with love. My entire family did. She lived her life like a boss and independent until her dying day is what she said she always wanted. She was still working, driving her own car, owned her own home. She was remodeling her own home. She was in college, and she lived life on her terms. She never wanted pity. She wanted to represent herself as a strong, successful, hardworking, independent woman. She never wanted to be a burden to others, so she kept her life private, protecting her heart and protecting us. And Mom, you were never an inconvenience in our lives. So private that nobody even knew she got sick. Like, she secretly, we found, we're piecing the time frame together, but we just found medicine in her car yesterday. She went to the doctor. We've been saying, oh, we should have taken her sooner and all of these things. Well, guess what? She took care of it. And she had the COVID medicine, and she was taking the COVID medicine. We had no idea. Unfortunately, she had to get admitted on December 19th. She was literally vomiting blood before she would take herself to the hospital because I think she just knew. She was actually tired for the first time in her life. She got dropped off and she said very happily, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And of course we had to believe her. Unfortunately, she did not really want care from the hospital, and she refused to go on the vent. She spent 5 days there and just kept saying, let's wait till Christmas. Let's just wait till Christmas. And they all couldn't understand it. But I'll tell you, that was her selfless dying act, to say, I don't want to ruin anybody's Christmas. And it just dumbfounds me that she did that for us. She actually said to me when I spoke to her, the first thing she said was, how'd you get this phone number and who called you? So I got a little bit of an interrogation, but I ignored it and moved on. She said that she needed to call Deborah and David, and she had to speak to her Jason and his family. And the woman said, you know, if you could just keep it to yes or no questions, your mom's not feeling very well. And I said, she's a Jewish petite mom. That's really not going to happen. And she talked to us for 22 minutes. 20 minutes later on Christmas Eve, we got a call from the medical staff saying that she was at the edge of the cliff. And the only thing I could do to give her the dignity and grace that she deserved when she came into the world and went out of the world was to ventilate her. So they put her on a vent, or we would have had to let her go. I asked to talk to her one more time, and she made me promise that I would call Jason and that I would call Deborah and David. And she said, they're the nicest people ever, and they deserve a break because they work so hard. So I promised not to call until December 26th. She asked twice to talk to her son, and I told her everything was taken care of and we would take it from here. I started naming people. What about Uncle Jack? And she said, tell him I said hi. And I said, what are you doing right now? She said, they're here. They're sedating me. They're giving me a vent. And I said, okay. And then I broke. I really felt that this may be the last time I spoke with her. So I gave the phone immediately to her grandchildren so they could tell her and hear her voice that they loved her. My mom worked out every day. She never smoked. She never drank. She has never been in the hospital but to be born, have 3 kids, and to exit her life. Sadly, COVID is a pneumonia. It so abruptly took the life of my mom, the strongest woman I've ever known. Having 80% lung damage, they said at most we would get 30 seconds to a minute or 2. I insisted. I didn't care about the rules. I went in and held my mother's hand. I assured her that she had to go home now, that Jeffrey will be there, that her mom and dad will be there, so many others, Uncle Leo, grandmas and grandpas. We sat beside her, Leonard as well. We held her hand. We told her the Browns were in the playoffs and her numbers went way up and she got excited. She FaceTimed Jason, her brother Jack, and her sister Aunt June, and my kids. When my kids actually spoke to her, Parker was the one voice she heard that I can't tell you how hard she tried to open her eyes. They were going back and forth, and boy, was she trying her best. So she was sound of mind. She could hear us. And it was amazing to have that really precious moment when she was trying to see them. We'll never know how she got COVID. We'll never understand why she was worried so much about us all getting to have a good Christmas. We will never understand why she kept COVID private. So please, don't get caught up in finger pointing or saying what if or making up your own version. There's no guilt to carry for her. I free you of your guilt. There's no baggage for you to carry any longer. You need to let it go if that's what you're doing. It's okay. She's home now. It was God's will to call her home, and that's the truth. I'm sure you all felt the heavens shake on Monday as she made her grand entrance, and I'm pretty sure he knew she's a big deal. And I'm pretty sure she probably gave some pointers and suggestions, and she probably is taken over up there already, because that's just who she is. If she could have given her opinion a little more, that would have made me feel better. All right. So I want to thank you all very much for watching this virtually. I want to thank you all for your texts, your comments, your messages, your phone calls, and your voicemails with wishes of strength and love and stories of your own about terminating someone's life. When it's a mother, it's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. Thank you to my mom's real-life angels here on earth that have made this beautiful celebration of life possible. Thank you to my husband, Scott, my brother, Jason, the love of her life, our Leonard. Thank you, Harriet and Gary Mann. And most of all, thank you, David and Deborah, May, and family, and Rabbi Weiss. Special thanks has to go to my 2 kids for the hundreds of hugs and kisses, for wiping my tears, checking in on me more than I check in on them these past few days. They did it all day, every day, and my little angel Allie tells me, everything's all right, Mom. I can talk to Nana whenever I want to. So, my mom had 75 wonderful years. I want you to sit back and enjoy her best 15 years with us. It will take about 10 minutes. And I just want to say that we love you, Mom. You will be missed. And you've always been and always will be a big deal to me. Thank you.
Someone starting the video. Very beautiful pictures. I know they represent so many incredible memories. And Danielle, you spoke so very beautifully about your mother with such love. And I know from our conversations the other night how much love there is in this family for Dora, and how much she loved all of you, how deeply she loved all of you. She was an extraordinary mother, grandmother, companion, aunt, who was so devoted to this family. She was, as you all described her, an Energizer bunny, who just kept going and going and going and going. Always bubbly, always positive, always determined, a very hard worker, who never let anything stand in her way. And there was a lot that stood in her way. Dora faced many challenges in her life. There is a beautiful story that is told by Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, one of the great Hasidic masters. He tells a story of a king who had a precious jewel, his most precious possession. And one day the jewel developed a scratch in one of its facets. And the king was beside himself. One by one, he brought each jeweler in the kingdom to fix the jewel, to remove the scratch. But no matter how hard they tried, none of them could remove it. And after what he thought was the last jeweler in the entire kingdom had come by and had failed like all the others before, an elderly man approached and asked to speak to the king, and said to the king, I can take your jewel, and I can make it even more beautiful than it was before. And what choice did the king have? He would try one more time, and so he gave the man the jewel. The man disappeared with it for several days, and when he returned, he handed the jewel to the king, whose face lit up with joy. He said, indeed, this is far more beautiful than it was before. The most beautiful jewel I have ever seen. The man had not removed the scratch, but rather using the scratch as the stem, he carved around it a beautiful rose. When life scratches us, bumps us, bruises us, we can find beauty also by carving a rose around that scratch. And that's exactly what Dora did her entire life. Beginning when she was a child, when at 9 years old her mother was dying, and Dora was forced into the position at that young June and Jack. She had to skip school while her mother. She made up for that with a life one class at a time. She had so much else on her plate. Nobody could have blamed her if she decided, that's too much, you don't have to do that. But she did have to do that, because she was driven from within, driven by her passion for learning, driven by her determination that nothing was ever going to stop her from accomplishing the goals that she would set for herself. Nothing would stop her from moving forward in life. She was a good planner. She was a social butterfly. As you said, Danielle, everybody knew her everywhere. June, you reflected on how much she meant to you as a sister and said that when you would visit, she would take you to the museum, to boating, to baseball, to everywhere. That was day one. It was exhausting. She always wanted to do more. The last time she visited, or rather the last time that you visited her here in Cleveland, she made you take Pilates at the JCC. And Dora was known everywhere, but boy, at the JCC, she was really a celebrity. A genuine celebrity. Because of her dedication and persistence in her approach to fitness, and because she was the champion, having won the JCC's version of The Biggest Loser at 70. Emily, Dora had such love for you. She loved to be with you, to get together with you. You would hug and sing and have so much fun. And your mother shared last night how you would push the button on your talker, Dora, 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 in the morning because you were so looking forward to seeing her, to being with her. You went everywhere with Dora. She was like a part of your family and you a part of hers. To the Science Center and on so many walks. You were always looking forward to being with her. You even went kayaking this past summer with her and with Leonard. Leonard was always with you, with Dora as well. And your family shared how much you loved that, how you laughed and had such a good time. Dora loved to talk with you. She would tell you exactly what she was thinking or what was happening. She would reason with you. And you loved that. Dora and Leonard had such an extraordinary relationship with each other. The two of you and your families grew up in the same Jewish neighborhood along 125th Street. But you've been together as an item, that's how they say it, right? For some 35 or 40 years. She lived with you in Chicago for 8 years when she had a nanny's job there. And here in Cleveland, you went everywhere together, to Corky and Lenny's and Jack's and Unger's, to the butcher shop. And wherever she took Emily, you always were with them as well. Your relationship with Dora started to change when you were working for the railroad and you noticed that she was having a difficult time, so you tried to help whenever you could. And from that beginning of help developed what became a much deeper relationship, and you did everything together. And she found a nanny job in Chicago to be with you there, and when you came back to Cleveland, you arranged an apartment for her around the corner from yours. Then you gave her your furniture so she would have furniture when you moved in with your mom. That's love. Dora had such love for the Mann family as well, for Andrew and Michael, and for you, Harriet and Gary. She was so proud of the boys. And Danielle, you shared already beautifully from the note from Michael and Andrew. Even after she stopped being a nanny to them, she continued to follow them, to keep up with them in their lives, to shep nachas, to be proud of them and their accomplishments. And Harriet, you reflected last night how you knew that Dora was somebody really special. And that you didn't want just anybody taking care of your kids. It wasn't a babysitting job. You wanted somebody who was going to bring to the job values and character and personality, who would be part of family and would treat them with great love and be a model for them. She was all of that. And she kept up her relationship with you as well as your boys. You are a precious part of her life, and she a precious part of yours. And because she was involved with your family, she became involved in the Großschächter Day School, and she became really known there also, like everywhere else. Once she put together an educational kit about Balto, that famous dog that brought the life-saving serum. It was made into a movie. And she made enough of these educational kits for every single classmate of Michael's and Andrew's and sent them to the Großschächter School. And they used them in the class, and those students remember that to this day. And that's the kind of person Dora was. When she knew you, she would go out of her way to do for you, to give to you. She was so thoughtful and so considerate. She always wanted to help others get ahead because she knew how hard it could be to get ahead. She wanted to make it a little bit easier for those that she knew, and especially for those that she loved. She was a loving mother to you, Danielle, and to you, Jason, and to Jeffrey, of blessed memory. And though life was hard when you were young, I don't have to repeat that. You reflected on that very beautifully. Nonetheless, somehow she managed to fill those years also with experiences that brought laughter and joy and that bound you together, and that taught you that lesson of what it means to always seek to be your best, to be persistent and never give up, to keep after your dreams and your goals. She was adventurous and spontaneous, the kind of person who would take you out to, say, the museum, the air show, and lunch in the mall, all in one day, and when you got back, you'd say, wow, that was a lot, I need to rest. Nana, thanks for a great time. And she'd say, what do you mean? We still have this and this and this to do. She loved all kids, not just her own. The children to whom she was a nanny, and the children in their schools, and the children that she met on the streets. She would stop, go up, and talk, play with them. They brought her so much joy. She was a classic Jewish mom who always fed you food constantly. To the point that Jeffrey would have to say, no, Mom, no, stop offering me food. And you reflected on the cold cuts, the corned beef, how it would always fill the refrigerator, how she would bring it to you in a cooler when she would drive to Indiana, even if the drive took her till 2 o'clock in the morning, how she carried corned beef in a Tupperware on her lap, warm, fresh corned beef, heating her lap on the plane all the way to Arizona to bring to you, June. They say in Jewish families, food is love. It was a lot of love. And that love came not only in the form of corned beef, but also in the form of all of her baking that she loved to do. She was an extraordinary baker, unbelievable baker. And it wasn't just that she baked cookies and cakes. She would bake the most extravagant kinds. She had these molds so that she could make cakes in various shapes, often cartoon characters. And you shared how she made a cake for Andrew for his birthday that was a Barney cake, a purple Barney cake. How many hours that must have taken to make. Well, Danielle, you know how many hours, because your mother also made a Mickey Mouse cake for you for one of your birthdays, and you decided that you would make the same cake for your son for his first birthday because you had the mold from your mom. It took you 4 hours to decorate that cake. And then your daughter wanted a Big Bird cake. And I bet it was great. Was it great? It had to be 9.5 hours decorating it as people are still walking through the door. And boy, if nothing else gave you appreciation for your mother's energy and persistence, that alone must have been quite a lesson in the inner strength and determination of a woman who wanted to show her love for her children in such beautiful and such powerful ways. She was a woman who knew how to make the most of everything, how to persist in getting what she wanted, not just in a home with family, but out in the world. When Mama wanted something, Mama got it. She didn't care how many doors she had to knock on, how many times she had to hear the word no. It didn't matter. She would just keep going as long as it was to do something for family or friends or anyone who she knew had a need or that she knew she could make happy or who she could touch with her love. That same persistence, and Debbie, you shared, came into play for Emily at a very early age when she needed to be potty trained, as all kids need to be potty trained. And you have been told that it would not be possible. Then you came home to find that Dora was with Emily in the bathroom for hours. And in the end, it took 2 weeks, but she did potty train her. She did. She was not going to give up, no matter what. And that determination, combined with that love and that personal care, is what made her so special to Andrew and Michael and to also your children, Debbie. That she was always willing to give her whole self. And that she did that also so completely for Emily was a great gift. Dora was very private, at least to the outside world. But within the family, she could talk and talk and talk. She could talk on the phone for hours, not letting you get a word in edgewise, not taking time herself to breathe. Then suddenly say goodbye, then call back hours later and continue the conversation. Danielle, you shared the beautiful story of the time that you spent with your mother before she passed. How she had given you that time as a great gift. What a blessing that gift was. She knew that you needed to be with her, that you would need closure. But I think she also needed the same closure. I think she needed that time with you, with all that she could gather around her. I think your mom knew that it was her time to go, and that she went bravely, ready for her next adventure. Always wanted to try something new. I believe she had good faith that what was ahead was going to be good. But it's so hard to say goodbye. It's so hard to let go of those that we love. Now we have to say goodbye to Dora's physical presence in this world, to her touch, to her embrace, but not to Dora herself. Because though the body dies, the soul lives on eternally, a gift of the Creator. And Judaism teaches that our soul is not just in heaven, that the soul is part of the God soul, part of one stream of divine energy that fills and permeates all of existence. And so, at the same time that Dora is in heaven with God, she's right here with you still, in your hearts. And you'll still be able to feel her presence, to be guided by her in your heart, to be comforted by her. Jason and Nancy, Danielle and Scott, and Delaney and Zachary, Parker and Allison, and Leonard, and June, and Jack. Dora will always be with you. We pray that God send you comfort during this difficult time, that God soothe your heart with the beautiful memories of the love that she shared with each of you, that God sustain you, and that her presence always serves as an inspiration and a guide, a source of strength, to light the way before you in every challenge that you face, in every opportunity that arises, to teach you, to remind you every moment, to live your life to the fullest, to take advantage of every opportunity and try everything new, to always give and know that what you can give is precious, whether it's material or just giving of your presence and your time and your soul. May her memory be for a blessing. And we say Amen. Please rise and we'll join together in the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim Shochem Bamromim Hametzei Menucha Nechona Tzachal Kanfei Ashkina Malo Kadoshim Utorim Kzorakim Asirim and Nishmat Dora Bat Larry V'Mary Shel Chalolama Gan Eden Tnei Muchata Ana Bal Harachamim Yasir Habasadaka Pavli Olamim Yitzror B'Tzor Chaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'Tno B'Shalom Mishkava V'Noma Amen. O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, we pray that you grant proper rest beneath the protective wings of the divine presence, in the lofty levels of the holy, among the pure ones who shine with the glow of the firmament, to the soul of our beloved Dora, who has been called to her eternal rest. Dear God, we pray that she find her place in the Garden of Eden in paradise by your right hand side. that you grant her of the light stored away for the righteous, and that you provide her with rich reward for all the loveness and good that she shared in this world. May the Master of Mercy shelter her beneath his wings for eternity. May her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May the Lord be her heritage. May she rest in peace. And we say together, Amen. That concludes our service here. From here, we'll be processing out to Cheslin Cemetery for the interment.
Any of you would help act as pallbearers? And we will help too. I mean, pallbearers by yourselves. Pallbearers? Oh yes, I'll get it for you. Are you going to be one of the pallbearers? I'm going to hand you a water. We're going to bring the kids to you. I will bring you the kids in just a moment. As one of the pallbearers, sir, if you'll come this way.
I'll help as well.
Oh.
Any other pallbearers, if you follow along with me, please?
The rest of the family, we're going to follow behind the casket, and then from following behind, I'm going to have you go directly to your cars. Of course, if anyone needs to escort you that. Yes, of course.
Right,